very quick one. This is more showing a couple of pictures what we're doing than addressing dimensioning or other backgrounds on slope stabilization. But as this is also one of the main scopes of GeoProc, I have to mention it, at least at the start, shortly and quickly. We can see here pictures of slope stabilization projects. I want to point out here on the down right corner that like all our systems or all our solution applications, we do one-to-one field testing. So here you can see one huge sandbox with at that time the biggest crane which we could have in Switzerland to lift it up. This box is equipped with strain gauges, for example, in the nails to measure the loads during the uplift and the different inclinations to learn more about the behavior and the deformation, especially of the meshes under load. The general scheme, how these slope stabilization mitigation measures looks like, is basically we apply a high tensile steel mesh panels on a slope. We have this offset of nails to control the loose material in between the nails better. Spike plates on top of the nails, which you can see on the left hand side. And just as a general remark, these stabilization methods, they work for superficial stabilities where also we have an internal but can publicly used dimensioning software, but can also mitigate global stability issues, but we have to have another design or another dimensioning approach. So just a quick some examples. This is actually one of the very first projects on the Philippines for which I was responsible at the time in 2013. So you can see here on the right hand side the picture how the site and the road looked in I believe 2010, 2011. And this is a picture from 2018 when I dropped by the site a couple of years after the execution to have a look how it looks today. And I think you will be with me that when we say that that site looks much more safer than it looked only a couple of years before. Again, a pilot or pioneer installation in Indonesia, which we did, if I'm not mistaken, in 2015, where the client approached us with this almost vertical wall of lahar deposits in Selo, Indonesia, asking us to help to find a solution. These lahars, even though they stand almost vertically, their geotechnical parameters are not too promising. Nevertheless, we find a solution for the client and introduce this slope stabilization system, TECO. If you look here on the left-hand side, you can see that the upper part, we introduced a much narrower nail pattern to the side. And what we cannot see is, or not very clearly, that also we installed a concrete beam on the top, which was micropiled to take the direct traffic loads in order to avoid additional deformation from those loads in the slope. This is a project in India, just to show you also the extent, and you can see here some concrete works have been carried out next to the road on the right hand side on the bottom. But besides that, shotcrete might not always be the most sustainable solution, especially in our days when we talk about carbon dioxide input. It would have been very difficult and challenging actually to install shotcrete solutions up here on the slope. So one small project actually from the Philippines again. This is on the left-hand side, how the appearance of the site was before the installation, and here on the right-hand side, during the installation. And what I want to emphasize is actually that especially with the help or with the support of hydro seeding, what we usually do here, that in these tropical climates, you will have a revegetation of the slope very quickly, which also then helps to control the surface water content a little bit and prevent further erosion. Another and the last example, before we look into rockfall mitigation, is an example of a failed shotcrete application here in Vietnam. Excuse me. Where you can see here on the left-hand side the area of failure. And here again, we have been approached and asked for a possible solution, which we then could provide with the help of this high tensile steel wire mesh TACO of an area of almost 4,000 square meters. So bringing you now after this quick introduction in slope stabilization or some examples